When dealing with a falsehood, you're faced with two options. You can accept it or you can reject it. The basis upon which we take one of these actions is a product of our critical thinking capabilities and a desire to know what is true instead of confirming our bias. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. On Brainstorm, we choose the hard truths over the comforting lies. Reason, compassion, skepticism. This is the Brainstorm Podcast.
So tonight we're doing a second round of the Rectable. Of course, it's the brainstorm production where we spend some time discussing one topic or many, depending on the way the conversation goes. I'm Cory, and I'm still joined by Lisa.
Oh, me first?
Yeah, you first this time.
Oh, hi.
Rene.
Hello.
Brandon.
Yeah, hello.
Angela.
Hello.
And of course, the always amazing Dave.
Here I am.
We're in Roman Empire Studios in Regina, Saskatchewan, and today is May 11th, 2018. All right. Incels.
Fuck.
It's, I mean, by now everybody knows about the Toronto attack by the dude in the van.
With allegations that he's did it for incel motives.
Yeah. I don't know how much allegations it is when it's like plastered on his fucking Facebook page, right?
He just posted a Facebook video right before the whole thing went down.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he actually tried to Elliot Roger it?
He did.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he did.
He referenced Elliot too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Supreme Gentleman and whatnot.
Supreme. That's so distinguished. Supreme Gentleman. It's like what Ron Burgundy calls his dog. Oh, Baxter, you're my little gentleman. That's what he says.
Nice.
Somehow I'm kind of disturbed by the comparison, but
You're not an incel.
you could make the argument.
It depends on the
By
definition.
the literal meaning of the word. I mean, I think there's something to be said before we get too far into the toxic aspect of it, that lonely dudes are sometimes lonely and might need to express that among other lonely dudes.
Yes.
That seems like a reasonable thing.
Yeah.
Well, there are lots of services out there that can help.
There are lots of services out there.
of various kinds.
Yes.
And
there's knitting groups.
Women also get lonely and
Right.
rent vans and run over people.
Generally don't go on threads talking about how they're going to hurt people and
No, if the stereotypes are true, they just collect cats.
That's right. What if you're allergic, though? What can you do?
I mean,
Well, then that's when you rent the van and run people.
You still
Okay.
collect cats, you're just angrier about
Well,
it.
thank goodness I was snatched up.
Yeah, there you go.
To be fair, some women do have really toxic ideas about men, like, oh, all men are
I mean, I think the
assholes,
problem
you know,
is-
but
Oh, yeah.
like,
True.
but they're not usually threatening about it. Usually they're just like, they're such pricks. Like, I don't know, you know.
Yeah. And then they watch Grey's Anatomy.
They're just
or This
withholding
Is
their
Us.
sex, apparently.
Yes.
Well, I think it boils down to it's like
apparently.
I was watching. I think it was in one of the links you gave where they were talking about it, and it's the problem with the internet is that it creates the
Echo chamber?
echo chamber of it, where it just it self feeds to goes from being a little cynical, maybe a little bitter to to thermonuclear war. You know, like, and that's.
Well, like, I know that there is research into groupthink that shows that you take a group of people, and the group of people actually tend to go to the more extreme position.
Yeah.
What's that say about
Like,
us?
a group will tend to move to the more extreme position.
That's why I've had to leave groups because of that. Because of that groupthink thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just always off in my own little world, so I don't notice that
See,
stuff.
I think that's the thing is I surf the net, but I never go into these truly deep, dark corners.
Yeah.
And so
I think sometimes, like, Cory, you like to look at opposing views. and consider them. I mean, if you're
He's always on 4chan.
Yeah, that's right.
No, he goes to 8chan now.
Yeah.
8chan.
It's not toxic enough for me. I better go somewhere
Gotta
else.
go deeper.
I need to go somewhere so toxic that when I'm done looking on the internet, I come out looking like the fucking Joker.
Yeah, that's right.
Pasty white skin and a rictus grin.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like every Saskatchewanian after winter.
That's
Oh,
true.
it's so nice. But yeah,
It's the most amazing. I'm sorry, this is a derailment, but it's the most amazing thing to go for a run and not put on like 20 layers of clothes and gloves and not have to find your thickest fucking toque and be like, okay, do I need 2 neck warmers or will one do me today? Like, it's the most amazing thing.
Totally.
You're going to get used to running out in nice weather.
No, because then I'd rather run in minus 30 than plus 30. So I'm going to just
Me too.
I'm going to have to go indoors soon because the heat will be too much for me. I
Yeah.
can't
Or go
handle
like
it.
5 a.m.
There's a 5 a.m? I don't understand, Angela. Wait, sorry.
Do it.
One can be awake at such a time?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I'll just
when your daughter's
leave
like,
my
"Hey,
child all by
let's do
himself
stuff."
at 5 a.m.
What's sleeping in?
the big problem is translating the disappointment and disappointment and depression into outright like, well, fuck it. If they're not going to fuck me, I'm going to just fucking kill them.
Right. Yeah. That definitely is where it goes in the incel communities, right? Like they have created apps that like show, what a picture would look like if you had threw acid on them. Like there's some really disgusting stuff that goes on in these incel groups.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Like having read some of these threads, like some of them are advocating for essentially large scale terrorist type attacks.
yeah.
So there is, FYI, a group of people who have a similar philosophy, and yet are in relationships, and those are abusive relationships. It's the
Right.
same sort of entitlement in an abusive relationship, except, and then typically it's one victim who is the subject,
Yeah.
who is the focus of this. I mean, that's what it is. So
These
entitlement is what happens, is why you get abusive relationships.
right. So it's almost like, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's so many elements to it. Like, I mean, we have a culture that, whether it's social media, media, TV, movies, whatever, where, we all have the stereotypes that, if you don't subscribe to, if you gotta, and that's where some of this incel stuff comes from, is that
You're not fitting the stereotype of getting.
if you don't look like Brad Pitt and you're not banging,
If you're not a Chad.
if you're not a Chad
Yes.
and not getting a Stacy, then, well, then you're just a loser.
Yeah.
No, to be fair, I mean, I don't know.
But I mean, not to stay in that terminology, but there's society's fucked. Like, we have so many weird social pressures. Like, even if you're not you have to pair up, you have to,
Right.
and there's pressure if you're not paired up, that you're too picky. You
Right.
have to settle. You have to have someone, and a lot of people end up settling, and then that leads to a bunch of other bad stuff, and then just feeds a bunch of weird shit in our society.
But I would say that it's also true that there are some men who are just charismatic, right? Like, and
Right.
they have a certain combination of, I don't even know that for women that it's like Brad Pitt looks, but like decent looks combined with this personality and possibly also job. Right? Like,
I mean, there's
like, I met this guy on this airplane, and he's not like the most fabulous looking guy ever. He's not a supermodel or anything, but he's decent looking, and he was, you could chat with him. He was charming,
Right.
and he is a pilot.
Was this the story?
And we became Facebook friends, and it's like, it's a different woman every week. And cause you could just tell he's just one of these guys who just, he doesn't have problems there.
Definitely, exactly. And mind you, that the incels would call him a Chad.
Yes.
He is a Chad.
He's a pilot.
He's a nice man, though. I like
a pilot
him.
Chad, but
I like him.
I mean, then again, I've made that joke years ago, and maybe it's in bad taste now, but I used to make the joke that yes, men are shallow but we judge on what nature gives you or what science can enhance. Women want men based on their occupation. That's a joke I used to make.
There's also a term, there's also, I think, you have to have like that Dane cookery to you to bring it back to an earlier set. It's that,
Right.
it's that charismatic leader thing.
There's that weird thing. There is that weird thing where
Hitler got all the babes.
douchebags do have a certain thing, right? I mean, there is a certain thing to douchebags.
Is it not just like confidence?
I mean, ultimately, I think it boils down to that.
I'm not talking about douchebags, okay, unnecessary. I'm not saying that men who get a lot of women or whatever are all douchebags. No, I'm not saying that at all.
I was trying to be funny.
Oh, sorry, but no, there are definitely certain women who are attracted to douchebags.
Right.
That's how.
But that's probably the core element there, though, is the confidence.
Yeah. I think my ex-wife used to always say that she was really wary of guys who were charming because they were often liars and they often would be very...
Oh, I don't mean that kind of guy. Those guys are creepy.
She only used the word charming in that way to describe that kind of person. So.
I mean, people who are just genuinely good at talking to other humans. Yeah. Like, I'm a physicist. I'm always amazed. I'm like, you can talk to humans and and have a conversation, talk about things, and then... Wow, what do you do with the awkward silences? Do you fill them with a motor mouth of words that never give anyone else a word in edgewise? That's what I
do. Oh, shit.
That got real.
So I'm using myself an example of someone who has no charm, and then you go with somebody who can talk to humans in a way that they find enjoyable.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Don't they call
Why do you let me on this podcast?
Don't they call those hypnotists?
No. Okay. Because on a podcast, you need somebody to fill those empty spaces.
Because dead air is a thing.
It's funny. This is another railroad, but I have friends who are very shy, and we get along super. So sometimes I get along super well with shy people because I fill those voids. They don't want to talk, and they're happy to let me. But sometimes I don't get along. There's the shy people who hate me because I just won't shut up, and they just want silence.
Quiet.
Yeah. So
I've because I moved into sales recently, I have to talk more to people. It's not what I want to do.
Hard, right? Yeah.
It's a skill, though.
It is, yeah.
Like at work, we make the therapist fill out the spreadsheet when we have a patient. And we have a patient once every 2 weeks, and it takes them 5 minutes to fill it out. And they are bitching and moaning like crazy. I'm like, I'm so confused. You guys have to talk to humans all day. You have to touch them and arrange them and listen to their problems. And what the fuck? How can you not fill out a spreadsheet for 5 minutes every 2 weeks? I'm so confused.
It's just the muscle that they have. It's atrophied. They haven't,
I'll tell them that. They'll like that. Oh yeah. Your brain muscle sucks. Use the numbers more.
Get a notebook exclusively for math.
I did that.
Damn right you did.
I had a point there. Now it's gone.
Did you?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. So back to incels somehow.
It's that woman.
It's scary.
I was feeling interrupted. I'm sorry.
I mean, there was a time when I somehow on Tumblr, I discovered a thing. I termed it as bimbo culture, which is like men who only like women who present themselves as very dumb. And women who like those men. And it occurred to me when I was seeing some of the stuff about Stacy's that they would fit and these incels is that the incels are looking for people who fit into this quote unquote bimbo type, version of people.
I haven't read too much into it, but what they're looking for is a trophy wife.
Right.
They want a Stepford wife.
Yeah.
They don't want like regular humans.
What they want is, yes, see this? I got this. You can't have this.
I bang this on a regular basis.
Yes. You must all bow and be jealous of me.
Right.
You know, that's what it boils down to.
There's the other facet of them who want to basically perfect sex bots. So it's like, I don't have to deal with you.
Well, but I think that those guys would still be as entitled towards, human women as they are now, even if sex bots were perfected. Because it doesn't seem like it's about sex. I think it seems like it's about something else.
Well, it's about social dominance and having and status.
Yeah. I mean, they say it's sex, but really I think it's about that, social dominance. Like, I mean, there was that one screen capture where he was talking about having, I might be misquoting but it was something along the lines of having sex with one and then, I don't know, basically then pouring the acid on them. It's like,
right.
It was something like, basically, I had that, now no one can have it again. Right. And it's
I think he specifically said it's like, it's just disfiguring isn't enough for me. I'm not enjoying myself.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was just kind of like, it was just like, what the fuck? But that's what it is. I think it boils down to is that element of, it's that weird social hierarchy of, I need to have the, Pamela Anderson, she'd be too old for half of them now, but the status symbol.
You're dating yourself here, buddy.
Yeah.
The epitome
okay.
of,
I made the reference earlier.
Yeah, I think that might be what be stuck. Fine, Rihanna. I want Rihanna.
Rihanna's my age, dude.
Yeah.
It took you a little while to Google that there, Rene.
I would say Selena Gomez, but I actually find her a little creepy.
Really?
Also, I feel like that's dirty because she's young.
Well, that's I think why I find it creepy. But
young
anyway.
enough to be your daughter, Cory.
At any rate, so insert hot celebrity A here, right?
Yeah.
And
I like Rihanna. Let's go with Rihanna.
Okay, Rihanna's hot. But anyway,
hot.
but that's just it. It's that weird status, right? Like I have, and
right.
And then that elevates me, and it's because I have read, what was it called? The Mystery Method.
Oh yeah.
It's fucking bullshit.
And The Game or whatever.
Well, that's one of those pickup artist books.
Yeah. The Mystery Method is the actual method, whereas The Game is the story about hanging out with the pickup artists. Like that's where there's two separate books.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've read it. It's bullshit. It is a weird thing to read. It is a weird thing to read. But I've known people that just swear by that book.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. It's about status, and
it's not about a relationship in any way, shape, or form. It's
partnership.
about dominance, and it's about belittling them to the point where they don't think that they can get anyone better.
I mean,
it's kind of a weird distinction. Because it's not, even in the book, they make the distinction between a relationship. There is actually a bit about where they're saying, well, no, you don't do this stuff if you want a relationship. This is about.
Oh, they actually talk about that.
Yeah, they actually make that distinction. I know. Wow. I was a little fucking shocked when I read that part of the book. But
is it a long-term thing or it's just
most of the book is about
getting laid or
picking up as many women as possible. Oh. But they do make a distinction at the end about developing relationships, because that's this thing is just about picking up women, as many women as you can.
Right.
And that's where
it's not about humans. It's about, it's about numbers.
It is, but it's a weird thing about playing the social game. Mm-hmm. And it's really, it's both fascinating and disturbing at the same time.
Can I point out, sorry. Oh no, you weren't done. Sorry.
Well, at any rate, but that's what it is. I think the problem is these incels have read these books and it's
been normalized. Like it's okay.
It's kind of a weird, it's kind of a normalization. Yeah. But they've taken it to the X degree, because they're in their,
because they've read these books and feel like they should be able to do this stuff.
Yeah. They think they should. Well, I studied the book. I know the peacocking part of it. Why can't it working?
I nag women into sleeping with me?
It's like, because the weird thing is the negging part of it is it's kind of a weird, it's that opposite charm. It's kind of a weird thing because when you read it and you go, okay, it's kind of an asshole thing, but I see where that could work. I've seen it work. It's weird. But you know what I mean? Like these guys, I think they see that and they think, well, I did step A, B, or C. Well, why isn't that happening? Fuck this, blah, blah, blah.
You were going to say something.
What I was going to say is it just dawned on me that it's interesting that we brought up Rihanna because she's famous for being with a person who I assume felt entitled to beat the shit out of her
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
probably
very,
thought
very
of
true.
her and treated her as a possession and a status symbol more
You
than
know,
as
and you know
opposed to a
what the
person, which
weirder
is so
part of-
interesting that we brought her up.
The weirder part about that, and actually,
Fuck Chris Brown. Sorry.
Yes, fuck Chris Brown. But it's kind of weird that it's connected to this. But you know what the weird thing was is there was responses after it broke that he beat the shit out of Rihanna. There was women posting, "Oh, I'd let him slap me around a little bit," and it's like, what the fuck?
It wasn't a little
He
bit.
fucking
though.
put her in the hospital the
Oh
night
yeah,
she
he
was
beat
supposed
the
to
shit
perform
out
with the
of her.
Brownies.
But like there was
The
women out there
Grammys
saying,
Brownies.
"Oh yeah, I'd let him slap me around a little bit," and I'm like, what the fuck? People.
So, but what I'm saying, there are women out. I mean, that's okay. First of all, I think we have to distinguish what people will say versus what people will do.
And I
That
think-
for those women
true.
and for these incels as well.
This
Come on,
is-
like
that is-
they
that- I
say
think
this.
that's- I think
you
that's
know,
very true. And
There's
there's-
a bravado and a
And for
You know,
all
an-
these
an
guys that are,
anonymity.
for all these guys that
Yeah.
are
There's
being
a-
super ultra, blah, blah, blah.
One in
keyboard-
1,000 might do something.
only
people-
one will run over 15 people in Toronto.
Yeah.
Right. I
Or,
mean,
It seems
or
like enough.
Or shoot, how many people did Elliot Rodgers
Under
do?
10, I think, altogether.
6, I think,
Yeah.
is what
but anyway, you know,
Anyway,
I'm just saying there,
statistically, if we're really into the statistics of
Yeah.
it, you know.
but I mean, there is, just going back to these women, there is a definitely, you know, if you are a woman who expects to be treated poorly in a relationship, you don't reject that relationship when you get treated poorly, right? You're like, oh, this is how relationships go.
Mm.
there are a lot of people who have been in an environment that is toxic throughout their entire lives and don't really understand anything beyond that. I mean, I don't know. I don't have an example or something that can really spell it out for people.
I have several examples.
Right.
Dave's really good.
I'm sure
Dave
you
would,
do.
yeah.
This is where
that's
Dave-
That was my entire career.
right. Yeah.
Actually, even from a personal example standpoint, when I was younger, I was kind of seeing this girl who was what you're describing, right? She had been just an abusive relationship after abusive relationship and quite, just kind of into those behavior patterns over and over again. And like, we kind of started seeing each other a bit. And it's like, I was almost like too plain Jane for her, like too kind, too normal, like taking care of her kid, like, you know, just doing normal things. Right.
Yeah.
And then she like, it's like that didn't really work for her. So she just went and like was cheating on me and shit. And like, and just like had to find somebody else like that. And then dated another guy who, pretty dark story. I don't even want to say the details, to be honest. But,
Right.
But,
People engage in all sorts of self-destructive behavior because that's the pattern.
Yeah.
they're in, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. And, you know, and not to say that I'm like, oh, I was the cat's meow. You caught me and you should have kept me. But I could definitely see that idea that
and it is true. Dave.
I was like, well, yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Of course.
Being
but I mean,
honest here, yeah.
it's not called the amazing Dave for nothing.
but I was boring,
He
right?
earned that.
I was
adjective.
boring. I was like interested in her kid. I was like,
You were
just,
respectful.
I was respectful. I was like making her dinner and I was just like,
You were
like, you know,
thoughtful.
just basic things. And it's like, that was kind of boring and not,
It wasn't what she knew.
no, it wasn't. Right.
But-
So
I would argue also as someone who came from a very calm, even tempered family where there wasn't a lot of
drama.
dysfunction or drama. It was pretty vanilla in a lot of ways. And I found myself attracted to the people that were kind of extravagant and a bit cocky and maybe didn't
Possibly
have
even the bad boys.
possibly people that didn't have my best interests really at heart. They were just, you know, in it for themselves. And it took me till I was essentially in my mid-20s that I was like, ugh, this is getting old.
I think everybody goes through a stage where they're like, they want the people that are bad for them. Right? Like, or they're interested in the people that are bad for them.
I don't know if everybody does, but
Well, maybe not everybody, but men and women and
said I was
non-binary people of all genders have that.
There was a point when I was always making the joke is like I was totally in love with Christina Aguilera for all the wrong reasons. All of them.
What were the reasons? I want to know.
Just watch the dirty video and that's it.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I'll have to revisit that.
Have to?
She hasn't aged well.
No, but She was smoking
Like
hot
Rihanna
meth.
is like 2 years younger than her. Okay.
Yeah, no,
Some people
that's
just
true.
really age well.
Yeah, well, she
Some
looked
people
hot
have-
in that video.
And
But
some
anyway.
people's makeup budgets just keep going up.
And plastic surgery.
That's plastic surgery. I don't know. Kate Winslet hasn't had a lot of it, and she's pretty gorgeous.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how long we've been going on this particular subject.
Yeah, I don't know. We kind
Do
of
we not want to
derailed.
talk about it anymore?
We seem to.
Well,
we seem to.
If somebody has a
around.
We've covered
relevant
it.
point to cover,
I think we're kind of all agreed that
Can we
yeah.
summarize in that?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, can we summarize in just that just because you stick niceness in something doesn't mean sex comes out?
Yeah, niceness isn't a plug-in for a reward of sex.
Only with sex robots.
Only with sex robots.
You are not entitled to sex.
No,
there is
that's
no,
right.
there is, I have a friend who goes off on it. She's like, there's no such thing as a friend zone. It's because the friend zone implies that you're entitled to sex, you're owed sex, and now you've unfairly been placed somewhere you don't deserve to be.
Yeah.
And she really takes offense at that term. I don't
I
know.
kind
That's
of,
valid.
I think that there is a friend zone, but it's something that you can be in intentionally because everybody's a human being
Yeah, it
and you
doesn't-
can be
It
friends
doesn't
with
have to
them.
be a negative. It doesn't have to be a punishment.
right?
Yeah, but that's not the way it's used. Oh, I've
No,
been
that's
relegated
true.
to the friend zone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been, my example or experience has been a little bit of a friend zone, but it was more of a case of, I always felt like this one woman I knew, we start dating a guy and I would kind of disappear and then they'd break up and suddenly she would dust me off the shelf. Suddenly, oh, what are you doing? And I'm like, to me, that was the friend zone where all of a sudden it's like,
I don't need you because I have somebody else.
kind of is how it felt. Like I
Yeah, I've
kept
had
in-
that.
Well, that's not very friendly or
That's
nice.
not
No,
cool.
my joke was I'd always quote Chris Rock with that. It's like, cause you keep them just in case. Just in case. Keep them in a glass. In case of emergency.
Jesus.
I have spoken to people who say like that they intentionally keep a just in case.
A backup guy.
A side
in
piece.
case they're, they
Yeah.
need to have sex someday. I'll call my just in case.
Yeah.
You know?
Cause you never know. To quote Chris Rock.
I think a mutual friends with benefits things is fine if
Yeah.
everyone's
Yes.
mutually
Yeah, well, as
agreeing.
long as
That's
you're
a
on
different
the
kettle of
same
fish.
page.
Yeah,
It could
as long as
work,
everyone's
yeah.
playing the same game, because
Exactly.
it's such
Yeah.
when the pitcher gets tackled. But
I think sometimes,
Yes, exactly.
communication isn't
Good
always
imagery there.
there, right?
Right here, right now.
Yeah. You're those no strings attached relationships. Sometimes you'd spend a little too much time with the extracurricular activities and not
I guess
enough
before
time
we
just like
Close this
DTR.
out.
Before we close the rectum table,
What if, like, some people
It's
were
called
writing
clenching
articles
the
about
rectum
the
table.
idea of sex redistribution. And
Redistribution.
yeah, which
like
was
sex communism.
yeah, which was very strange to me.
Sexual socialism? What?
Which was very
Well,
strange
it's
to me.
basically
Like,
when everyone gets a prostitute, but the government pays for it.
like,
I mean, sex is kind of is the ultimate capitalism, right? It's a free market. It's sort of like not a lot of government intervention there, right? Like it's just
no regulation
not a-
whatsoever.
Not if
not
Sugar had
much.
his way.
You just can't get paid.
as long as there's
Well,
as long as there's
I was
consent.
thinking that, to quote George Carlin, selling's legal, fucking is legal. Why isn't selling fucking legal?
Well, so actually selling fucking is legal in Canada.
It is.
That's true.
It's buying,
It's buying it
is
that's
the-
buying it.
That's
illegal.
right.
It's
I think
weird.
living off the avails
Yeah.
too is another one of those things that's illegal.
Well, yeah.
Or was anyway recently.
No, it still
The
is.
joke still stands.
I drive by a lot of massage parlors on the way home.
and you go in. No,
And I stop every
single
now and then.
one.
Sometimes it's been a long day for Angela.
Sometimes it's hard sitting in this chair for 3 hours at a time, and then sore muscles.
Yeah.
I just
Need
did
a
lot of-
massage.
yeah.
That's right. Fair enough.
we're going to talk about something about what's his name say? And you wanted to talk about it. Yeah, it's all gone.
All right.
I don't know.
Good enough. Let's go. Let's close this out.
Close this rectum table.
For everything else, you can check out the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net. Thanks to our financial supporters, Stephanie Zach, the Utah Outcasts, Bassett, Will, Aaron, Daryl, Destin Sucks, Bob Glenn, Dustin Doesn't Suck That Much, Magnus, several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave, Positively Skeptical, Rob, Julie, Chris, and Larry. If you want to join them and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. Or you can buy our stuff at tpublic.com/stores/brainstorm-podcast-gear. You can join us every second week when we broadcast live on brainstormradio.net. Our next show is on June 8th, and our guest will be Mandisa Thomas, founder and president of Black Nonbelievers. Thanks again to Bob for joining us, though he's not likely ever going to hear this. You can find his stuff at link to be determined.
He's on Twitter.
He's on the Twitter. Look for Bob Nygaard.
If you Google him, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah, I actually did Google him while we were talking.
He has a lot of places where you can find him. Thanks to Dave for our intro music. Thanks to Aaron Rabbi from the Embrace the Void podcast for doing the new voiceover. You can find his stuff at voidpod.com. Thanks to Alex Capper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for our ads, and thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, share the show, and spread the word. For live listeners, stick around for the after show. You can go to brainstormafterhours.com and listen to the bonus content before it goes patron only. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interactions with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.